Good Thursday morning of November 9th. Today is the feast day of the dedication of St. John Lateran, the original basilica in Rome. It's the oldest basilica in the Catholic faith, actually. It's the way I read it. I looked it up, actually. And it's interesting. That's where the Pope's cathedral, not St. Peter's. The papal home, I guess you could say, parish, church, is the Lateran, is St. John Lateran, the oldest cathedral in the Catholic Church, as far as I understand. And of course, of all Christianity then. Goes back to the 4th century, three and change, 324, something like that. Yeah. But it's interesting, these monuments to the faith over the course of 1,000 years, almost 2,000 years, they're hallmarks to the stability of the church over the century and the leadership of the church. But there's also something, I think I was there. I'm almost sure I was at St. John Lateran, but I think I also was to St. Peter's. These are, in some many ways, architectural works of art. They're phenomenal, and they do reflect the faith. And you see that people come to it. They're not just checking out the artwork, though many are. But in the profound sense, I think they sense the holiness of the church over the course of centuries that has endured wars, dictatorships, collapses of the culture. And yet these are monuments to the faith over 2,000 years, roughly 1,900 years. And Europe has many of such, but I guess in Rome and Italy, you see some of the oldest. Not all, well, this is the oldest in Rome. You can see, in a sense, the stability, the radical stability of the church, in the sense of its Christian faith. At the same time, you see it symbolized in the colossal architecture of the cathedrals. They're not just works of architectural art, they are witnesses to the faith. And at the same time, when you look at the texts that are used by the church, we are profoundly reminded, I'm clumsy, that the ultimate temple, the ultimate church is not a building, it's the people of God. That we are the temple and that our bodies are the temple. See? That we are the temple. Watch what St. Paul writes in the letter to the Corinthians. And it's a powerful line. Do you not know that you are the temple of God and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone destroys God's temple, God will destroy that person. For the temple of God, which you are, is holy. See? That's a key insight by St. Paul. And the letter to Corinthians is early. I think it's one of his earliest letters. And it's the recognition that the true temple is not a physical building, no matter how beautiful, magnificent it may be. It's actually the people of God. It's actually ourselves. We are the temple of the Spirit. We are the body of Christ. And I think that's extremely important to recognize. We are not merely in the architecture of the church when we think of the temple, even though we have magnificent John Lateran, but St. Peter's and so many others. The one here, right here in St. Louis, beautiful, beautiful cathedral. But the beauty of the church is not in its architecture, but in its persons. That's the truth, the simple people of God. That is really true. And I think the recognition of that is crucially important, especially because it's imperative. You hear Lily now, she's deciding that it's time to save the world from me, okay? It must be somebody outside. Whatever the case, I think it is so crucially important to recognize that ultimately, just what St. Paul is saying, not that we desecrate our architectures, they are great symbols of the faith, but the reality of the faith is ourselves, is the people of God. I love that expression, the people of God. I don't know where I learned it. It goes back to my theology days 50, 60 years ago. But I think that's an important notion. And I have to say, I'll give you an example, okay? What to me is exquisite temple, okay? And that was Old St. Tim's Church. You had to know Timmy's, okay? It was a hodgepodge from a bunch of churches in South St. Louis, put together temporarily. It was meant to be a a starting point and then a regular, big, nice cathedral, not cathedral, but a big church, in the traditional sense. But if you were to see St. Tim's, in many ways, was so simple. The altar came from, I forget what parish, this came from that. It was a hodgepodge. But what it struck me so powerfully when I came here was I was struck by the people of St. Tim's, now this people of St. Mark's, same parish, even though now we're in the Mary Queen facility. I saw what the church was. It was the people. It was the people of God. I knew that theoretically. I didn't know it practically until I came here. And I saw it. You couldn't brag about the church as its architecture, but to me, St. Tim's was beautiful. It was so simply beautiful in its simplicity because it really reflected the simple but powerful faith of the people. That's the truth. That is the truth. And I saw how it got exercised, the way the men and women of the church raised money, kept it going. They renovated the church. They were dedicated to the church, but they were dedicated to each other. The most powerful image I had, is I had to learn what Christianity was, Catholicism, by coming here. I had to learn that it was the people of God. And where I noticed it with the guys coaching their kids in the backyard. And I remember the pastor, Joe Cronin, saying to me, the first night I was here, 50-something years ago, 52 years ago, he said, Ted, there's nothing for you in the rectory. Go and make friends with the people. So that night I went out in the backyard, and there were the second graders who were beginning to learn to play soccer, and it was Don Pieri and Dick Heinrichs and a bunch of people. And I saw something. I understood the church at that moment. It was these guys, these fathers, with their children, their young sons. And then I saw it with the little Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Brownies. I saw the living faith. And it wasn't a building. If you took St. Tim's and St. Mark, you'd say, hell, it's nothing to brag about. But the people are. The people are united in faith and enlightened in affection with each other and love. And they cared for each other. They looked out for each other. They created a community, and they still do. They still do. I'm sorry we have ever left St. Tim's, though, because we formed a larger church over the Mary Queen facility. And then we now, of course, we don't use those names anymore. Now it's St. Mark's. But Timmy's had this special thing for me because it was, in a way, where I was baptized into the church. In this sense, I learned what the parish was, what the living church was, by being on the ball field with the fathers and in the basketball court with the mothers and their daughters playing basketball or volleyball or whatever it was. The Cub Scouts, the Girl Scouts, and the Brownies. I saw the dedication of the parish and the parish picnic in the spring. I saw just tremendous sacrifice for the life of the faith in the parish. The teachers, boy, we had one Christmas tree, good school. They were crackerjacks. They were so good. That's the truth, too. I saw the life of the church, but I saw it in its people. The parish church, all right, it was okay. It was all right. You can forget about it. But you couldn't forget the people. What a living parish. What a living temple. When St. Paul reminds us that we are the temple, that we are the people are the temple. He had that exactly right. And I saw it at St. Tim's and St. Mark's. I will never, ever, ever not be grateful for my baptism into the reality of the church. St. Tim's, St. Mark's.